McIntyre Law.
Welcome to another edition of The End Zone along with Cameron Johnson. I am Colby Daniels. Cameron, the NBA season is about to reach that point where things potentially get really interesting. The trade deadline is right around the corner, the NBA All-Star break to follow, and we have a new athletic director in Norman, which is big news for the Sooners program after having so much stability in that role for the last, what feels like 4 decades. I know it's not been that long, but Joe C just feels like he's been a staple of college athletics for as long as I can remember. But what's going on this week?
Yeah, it's just that time of year where it's like any sport you can kind of pick out, and there's something crazy going on. But yeah, it's fun, you know.
Yeah.
You like the excitement, the drama, but yeah, as far as OU goes, that'll be really interesting. I mean, that's one of those things that takes years to see how it really unfolds, but exciting stuff. And
yeah,
I know we'll get into it later.
For sure,
but yeah,
for sure.
All good things.
The trade deadline is next week. It will have passed by the time we do this show next week. So we've got to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder and potential moves that could be made. It's been a fascinating situation for me because I think covering this team since they got here, every year at the trade deadline, it's like, what is the missing piece that gets the Thunder to a championship, right? And it's been that way every single year. The Thunder need to be active. They need to make trades. What is the piece that puts them over the top? Well, guess what? They reached the mountaintop last year, and still you have some people saying they've got to be active in the trade market. They've got to do things to, I guess, give themselves a better shot to repeat. So it's been a kind of fascinating situation with OKC and the trade market this go-round in comparison to previous years. But when you look at this team, like, what do they need? If you are going to search for something specific on the trade market, what are you looking for?
In short, I think they need a secondary ball handler. You've got SGA, who's one of the best out there, but they don't really have someone that is just like the direct second to that. I think that, to me, is what they really need. But it's also an interesting situation where you have like so many injuries that are taking place right now. It's hard to really see. They're having to work around with those different combinations, so it's kind of harder to pinpoint. But in general, I think, like you said, it's hard to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
But there are some things that need to be fixed. It's a tough spot to be in.
I should have said if healthy, because that's a big part of this. You're watching them right now, and it's not the full puzzle that you're seeing play out, and so that's part of the equation here. But when you have, I think, a healthy Jalen Williams, J-Dub, we saw him in the postseason last year kind of take over the point guard role, so to speak, when Shea was on the sideline getting some much-needed rest. A.J. Mitchell has also stepped into that role, but he's going through some injuries himself. So, if you don't have injuries, I kind of think you're probably okay there. Maybe some big man depth. I don't think you're going to bring in somebody that ultimately takes minutes away from Isaiah Hartenstein or Chet Holmgren, but just to have another big body, I think, is always valuable in this league. And then maybe add some shooting. But again, it goes back to what are you willing to give up to get something like that? And I start looking at this roster, and I think because chemistry is such a big part of this team, and because the depth is such a big part of this team, I don't know what names I'm willing to move.
That's kind of where I'm at too, and I've even, I have seen the people talking about, going after like a big blockbuster trade, and it's like, if you do that, maybe you get a big name, but you risk ruining that chemistry, like you mentioned. Like, that's what makes the Thunder such a, at least from my biased standpoint, that's what makes them such an easy team to cheer for, is that there is that team element and the chemistry of, no matter who's out there, they're going to get something done. And so, it's a really tough spot, like I said.
They're obviously very talented, but chemistry and depth are two of the big reasons they won the title last year. And if you make a big blockbuster trade for a guy like Giannis, who everybody is expecting to be traded by the deadline, you're talking about having to give up players that contribute to that chemistry. You don't know what the chemistry is going to be like with a new superstar coming in and fitting in with everybody else. And again, Milwaukee's not just going to give him to you. You have to give talent back, and that's going to mean a hit not only to your talent, but the depth that you have. We put a couple of trades into the trade machine this week just to give you an idea. So this is one that's actually making the rounds on social media. People suggesting Giannis Antetokounmpo to the Thunder for Isaiah Hartenstein, Lou Dort, Aaron Wiggins, Nikola Topic, oh yeah, and you can't do this on the trade deadline or on the trade machine, and 4 first-round draft picks. So even if you take away the future draft picks, which the Thunder have a ton of, I mean, look what you're having to give up just to make the salary part of this work.
Yeah, I was going to say I wince as you keep reading off those names. It's like, oh, no. But yeah, I mean, everyone on this roster, like you were saying, if you say, well, what about this guy? What about this guy? There's something that each one of them brings something to the table where even a guy like Jalen Williams, it's like maybe he's not the best player,
right,
but he brings that important element of, hype man, whatever you want to call
That's
it,
right.
to the team.
Glue guy.
It's like, yeah, it's anyone you name, it's hard to get behind seeing them leave.
Well, and like it would be great to trade some of your like into the bench guys, like if you could trade Topic and Ousmane Dieng maybe for Giannis, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But Milwaukee is not going to say yes to a deal
Right.
like that. People forget it takes 2 sides. You can't send your into the bench guys for an NBA superstar, a top 5 player in the league. They're going to want something in return. Here's another one that I think there's no way this would ever happen, but look at the names you're talking about having to move just to make the salaries work. And again, I think Milwaukee would want draft picks because they need to rebuild, but you're talking about some of the biggest names on this roster just to make the salaries fit, where it's an acceptable trade for the NBA and you don't end up in the luxury tax, and the NBA says, no, this salary-wise doesn't work.
Yeah, to me, as I look back on the course of the Thunder, yeah, you've got, big names in the end, but like OKC has always done this good job of they don't need these like superstar gigantic trades to get where they are, so to speak. Like, sure, you've had some in there, but it's like they do a good job of taking these not lesser known. That's not the right word. I'm missing the word I'm looking for here. So it's hard for me to imagine. Maybe that's better. But it's hard for me to just like envision like just a superstar name coming and joining this roster. But that's not to say it's a bad thing if it happens. But it's hard to picture.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, we've got to take a timeout. We've got a lot more to get to. We got to hear from OU's new athletic director, Roger Denny. Anthony Morrow gave his thoughts on being traded at the trade deadline, so you can hear what that's like, and much more next here on The End Zone. All right, welcome back to the show. Earlier this week, Oklahoma introduced the 12th athletic director in school history. Athletic director at the University of Oklahoma is a pretty high-profile job, one of the most prestigious jobs in all of college athletics. And part of that is because Joe Castiglione did such a great job, not only, I think, turning OU athletics into the juggernaut that it is, but look at the national championships in all the sports, not just one. It's going to be big shoes to fill for Roger Denny. But I get the impression, at least based on his press conference, that he welcomes that challenge. He's excited for that challenge, and he knows what he's getting into. He doesn't have any, I think, misconceptions about what the Oklahoma athletic department is, and especially what the Oklahoma fan base demands in terms of championships.
But winning matters, especially here. Our student athletes come here to win. Our supporters expect us to win. We're here to support Coach Venables and go get number 8. We're here to widen the gap between our softball and gymnastics teams and the rest of the field. We're here to get Coach Hibble back to the mountaintop. And we're here to pour some gas on the fire that Coach Baranczyk has started in her program. There's one goal for every single program that we sponsor. That goal is not progress, it's not wins, it's championships.
There you go. I mean, the goal is championships. And he basically said nothing else matters, right?
Yeah.
Progress, wins, it's about championships. It's about hanging a banner from the rafters. And I think that was music to the ears of Sooner fans everywhere. We'll see, how much he sticks to that 2 or 3 years down the road in each particular sport. But he has certainly set the bar where I think Sooner fans expect it to be set.
Yeah, and I know there was a lot of skepticism when he was first named, and I think that was primarily due to him not being, maybe the flashiest hire
like
name-wise. It kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had just came in yesterday, and I think it was another soundbite he said somewhere where it was like he's not shied away from building dynasties.
Yeah.
Like, that's just everything he said is what you want to hear. Now, of course, it's easy to say that. You got to back it up on the field, the hardwood, whatever it may be. But so far, if I'm an OU fan, I'm impressed with what he's had to say.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest. When I heard they were hiring him, I had no idea who he was. Like most people, I had to Google him and find out his background. I'd never heard of Roger Denny before. That's not a bad thing, though. I think people are so stuck in the old ways of college athletics where you're looking for this big name that you know around college athletic circles. Guess what? It's a new world in college athletics. The rules that you played by 5 years ago are no longer relevant in today's landscape. And I think this guy, having only been in college athletics for the last 4 years, knows nothing but the new version of college athletics. So I don't know if it's going to be a home run or a complete miss, but I would just say it feels like he has all the tools to be successful. And just because he's not like a big-time athletic director from a previous era doesn't mean that he's not going to have success in this era of college football or at this level with the University of Oklahoma. I think anybody that thinks they know what the exact blueprint is for an athletic director under this new landscape is completely full of nonsense.
Yeah, I'm kind of like you were saying. It's maybe is beneficial that he's been in it for such a short amount of time and has proven. I mean, he did a lot for the Illinois football program while he was there, and most importantly in this day and age is really has quite the resume for fundraising, bringing in money, and whether you like it or not, that's what college athletics are these days.
The business aspect of it.
Yeah, the business aspect, and it seems like he's kind of a forward thinker when at a time when forward thinking is kind of the only option right now.
Forward thinker and I think very aggressive. So Sooner fans should like to hear that. All right, we got to go swing back to the trade deadline. I know it's like the popular topic of conversation around the sports world. I caught up with our buddy Anthony Morrow earlier this week. He was traded from OKC to Chicago back in 2017 at the trade deadline. So he shared his story about finding out that news and what that was like.
The Thunder traded me to Chicago. And that one hurt. That one hurt because I found out on the internet. So after practice, we working out. We playing like 3-on-3 or something. And I see Russ and Troy Weaver, they talking. But I'm just not really thinking that. I was just watching this hoop. So afterwards, go lift, do my regular routine, cold tub, shower, whatever. Shower, I get in the cold tub, and I'm on my phone, and my Twitter's going crazy. So I'm like thinking something bad, like, please God, don't let nobody, you know how it is. I'm scrolling, and then like, I look up, and like, I remember Steven was right there, Ennis. It was like Dre. It was like 5 or 6 guys just staring at me. And I was like, damn, I put my head down, went in there, got dressed, I had to go talk to Sam, and, Sam kept it real. He was like, man, he was like, you're the greatest shooter we ever had in the organization. He was like, but we had to make it work. It's a business. And it was tough, man. Shout out to the masseuse ladies was crying. Miss Angela was crying. It was cool to know I was loved like that there. But that was tough, man. That was a tough one. That was like the first taste of like real business.
Yeah, it's crazy. You forget like a lot of these guys. Like he had a family who ended up staying in Oklahoma City for the rest of the season because they had a house. Yeah. Right, and he went to Chicago, played out the rest of the season there. Family moved after the school year was over and the season ended, and a lot of these guys, some of them don't even expect to be traded and aren't even guys that the team is looking to trade, but they end up in a trade just to make it work financially.
That's what I was going through my head the whole time he was talking, is how crazy to like work in that kind of industry in the athletics where you can just go about your day as normal, having no clue that anything like that is going to happen, and then all of a sudden like that you find out. I mean, the anxiety I would have at all times. That's insane.
And that's the way Sam Presti operates. He is stealthy Sam Presti. So if you're hearing rumors of a Thunder trade, it's probably completely false because Sam Presti operates in the shadows. All right, we got to take a timeout. Smash or punt next on the End Zone. Along with Cameron Johnson, I am Colby Daniels. It's time for Smash or Punt. I'll make a statement. If you agree with it, it's a smash. If you disagree with it, we are punting that thing away. All right, let's start with something we've already talked about. New athletic director at Oklahoma, Roger Denny. Roger Denny will hire a new basketball coach in 2026. Smash or punt?
I fear it's a smash. I'm just thinking that it feels like that's what needs to happen, and it'll be honestly a real test for him right out of the gate to see. So I'm gonna go smash.
I mean, he harped on championships, and it just feels like OU basketball is so far away from that.
Yeah.
I like Porter Moser a lot, but it doesn't have a good feeling to it right now. So I'm kind of with you. I think it's going to be a smash, and his first hire as athletic director is going to be a new basketball coach. All right. You're familiar with this guy named Jade Knott, right?
I've heard.
Played running
Yep.
back at Oklahoma, allegedly.
Allegedly.
21 carries in 2025 for the Sooners. He's been one of the big hits at the Senior Bowl this week, which
Yep.
is a really fascinating situation. So, smash or punt, Jade Knott will have more than 21 carries as an NFL rookie.
Man. My gut tells me punt.
Okay.
But maybe that's just kind of the karma side. Karma's not the right word, but I'm gonna say punt.
All right, I'm going to say smash. I think he's going to get on with somebody. And look, even if he's not good, you got to give him more than 21 carries to find out. And
that's true.
reportedly has turned heads this week in Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl. So I'm going to smash. It's still one of the weirdest situations I think we've seen from OU football in quite a while.
Yeah.
All right, smash or punt. Bill Belichick did not make the NFL Hall of Fame, which I think was a travesty to a degree. The Hall of Fame voting system is more to blame than the voters themselves. Smash or punt?
I'm gonna lean more towards smash.
Okay.
On that one. Yeah.
Okay. I think there are always outliers. These people that are complete idiots that didn't vote for Ken Griffey Jr. to go into the Baseball Hall of Fame, or somebody that just maybe doesn't like your personality that decides I'm going to punish you and not give you the vote. But especially in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you get 3 votes for the finalists. So it's not like you have unlimited votes, and you might want to vote somebody that doesn't have very many more chances in than a guy that certainly is going to have more opportunities to get in. So I'm going to smash this, although I do think there are some idiotic voters out there, but I'm going to smash this. All right, very quickly. The Thunder are playing at San Antonio next week. Final regular season matchup between these two. Thunder get the W.
Smash.
Smash all the way. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
because I think they just caught those first 3 games in a slump. I think they'll.
right.
Yeah, it's in their head now.
All right. I want to agree with you. I think the injury bug right now might be a little bit too significant to overcome. So I'm going to punt it away. I think the Spurs get it done, but I still like the Thunder to beat the Spurs in a postseason playoff series if it comes to that.
The one that matters.
All right, we got to take a timeout. It is the closing argument with Noble McIntyre next here on the End Zone. All right, welcome back one final time as we wrap up the show with Noble McIntyre, attorney at law. It is time for the closing argument.
All right.
Noble is going to close this show as only he can. So the NBA trade deadline is next week.
Right.
A lot of people feel like the Thunder should be involved somehow, some way, do something to maybe fix the slump they've been in over the last few weeks. So my question to you is, NBA trade deadline, how aggressive should the Thunder be? And is there anybody that you are unwilling to trade from this roster?
Well, when you say slump, we still have a 38-10 record, which
That's
is
right.
the best in the NBA. The reason we've been losing is we've had some injuries. I think we have the second most missed games due to injuries of any other team in the NBA. So it's not, if that's a slump, give me a slump. I think you have to look at it from the perspective of we have the same team as last year that won the championship. That's the odds-on favorite to win this year. You don't go make wholesale changes for a short-term fix. You certainly don't go trade multiple first-round draft picks and some of your core team to get a Giannis. You just don't do that. As far as who you don't trade, you certainly don't get rid of your core 3. Shea is safe, Chet is safe, J-Dub is safe. I also don't think you can get rid of A.J. Mitchell, Wallace, or Dort. So maybe you have some players down the road that you could trade, but man, that's a core team. The chemistry is important, and I just don't think you make any major changes. You look at see what comes along, maybe make a few, but for the most part, I think you go win it again with the same team.
I want to disagree with you so bad because I'm a giant Giannis Antetokounmpo fan, but I completely agree. This team just won the title. The only reason they are struggling to any
Injuries.
degree is the injuries, and if they're healthy, I think they're going to repeat. Let's also not forget that it's a young team
Yep.
that has years of prime basketball to be played. If you bring in a veteran, you might have him at a high level for a year or two, like a Giannis. But I'm with you 100%. I think the Thunder, if they find a salary-friendly deal, maybe for a role player, but I don't think it's anything big, and I am certainly not gambling in the trade market if you are Sam Presti. All right, that is the closing argument. For Noble McIntyre, I'm Colby Daniels. We'll do it again next week.